Hi, everybody. Thanks for showing up today. So today we're going to be training on CMAs. And so for anybody that's either a new realtor or you've been in for a little while, I've done this training a few times, and honestly, it's just one of those trainings or one of those things that you need to know. You need to know how to value properties. It comes up whether you're representing a buyer, whether you're representing a seller, or even for rentals. Right now, I'm also getting a lot of new investors. New investor clients are typically going to ask you for CMAs on not only what the property is worth now, but what it'll be worth in the future, and even possibly what it will rent for. So whenever you're doing a valuation of a rental, it's also the exact same thing. Well, it's not the exact same thing, but it's very similar to when you do the CMA of the property value. So this training is super important. If there's one thing that you should know as a realtor is you should really know how to value a property correctly. So I'm excited to get into this one. For this, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm just going to jump on the MLS so you can see exactly what it is that we're going to go through a trial CMA. So follow along. As always, this is being recorded. So if at any point I'm moving too fast or you want to come back to it, you can always do that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. All right, so for today's training, I want to use a property that's actually active on the market right now. We have an interested buyer in it, and she actually wants a lot of information on it. She's planning on holding it, but she does plan on moving in a few years, and she would like to know, is this a good property for myself to live in, and would it double nicely as an investment property? So the first thing that I want to do is I want to jump into the MLS, okay? So if you're with the El Paso Association, you're going to be using the Flex MLS, and this is what it looks like. Now, the very first thing that I do is I actually bring up 3 different tabs. The first tab is going to be for my property, my subject property. Okay, so this is my subject property here, 7334 Camino del Sol. The second thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a second tab with the MLS again. Okay, and the reason I do this is because I like to keep the subject property details at hand. So I want to be able to come back and look at these pictures if I need to. I want to come back and be able to look at the square footage, year built, any extra details. And on this second tab is where I'm actually going to do the search. So it's just kind of helping to organize me. And the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the elpasocad.org website. So this is going to be our county appraiser district, and the reason that I like opening this one up is because I do like to verify the information that has been input in the MLS. So on the MLS, there's some important information when it comes to what we're using to get this valuation, and I just want to make sure that the information is in alignment with what EPCAD has on file. And if it's not in alignment, really, I just need to go back and check with either the listing agent, EPCAD, or I need to ask questions to see why there's a discrepancy there. So EPCAD to me is really more for verifying the information on the first tab. So in order to keep this training short and not overdo it, really I'm just looking at when I'm verifying the information, quick walkthrough, I'm going to go to improvements in buildings. I want to verify the square footage, and I want to verify the year built. I also want to verify if I'm submitting an offer. I would like to verify the owner's name, which I can find right here. Okay, and that's pretty much all that I'm looking for. A lot of times I'll run over the value, the taxing jurisdiction and value. I like to have just kind of a base point of what's on the value if it pops up. And actually, since it's not popping up, it might be because I have it under 2021. So if that ever happens to you, you can go into this little bar right here and go to another year. I'll try 2020. And it might be on there. So see, now it comes up, and it's just because they don't have information for the values on the 2021 version, but they do have it for 2020. So on here, I see that that EPCAD has it valued at 179,505. Honestly, this is just a reference point for me. This really doesn't mean a whole lot to me, but it gives me reference point as to what the seller might think the property is worth. That's really all it gives me reference point to. Okay, so moving on, we're gonna go ahead and jump into this second tab that I opened up to do the search. Personally, whenever I'm doing a CMA, what I'm really looking for is the value, right? So for this training, I'm going to go ahead and show you the actual CMA that you can do here on here on the MLS, on Flex MLS. But in reality, what I want to teach you is how to get the valuation of properties, because that's what's important. So here on Flex MLS, we have this really cool CMA option where you just go in and click it and you can create a new CMA. Now there's a whole bunch of different templates that you can use. I've already altered mine to personalize it just a little bit. I would recommend you go through and you create a CMA, and then when you get to the end, you read through it and see what it actually looks like. Do you like all the graphs that are on there? Do you like all the charts, all the pictures, all the information? A lot of times with Flex MLS, what they do is they give you a default template for your CMA. And what I have found is that a lot of the information that they put on that CMA is very repetitive. So if I'm actually going to take this CMA and give it to my client, I want it to be as easy to read as possible. I don't want it to be super cluttered and overdone. I really just want to get to the point with the information, add a couple of charts in there, pictures for references, but I don't want to overdo it. So mine's already set up. If yours is not set up, there is a training right in this bar for anything that you need for the MLS. In here, you can go to help, and let me move this little guy. So you can go to help, you can go to video trainings, and I recommend that you watch as many of these trainings as possible if you're not familiar with Flex MLS. They'll pretty much walk you through everything. So if you need to do that, go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and actually get started in here. Now, and I'm going to go through it as fast as I can because it is a lot of information to cover. Last time I did a CMA training, I ran out of time. So I'm going to go through this kind of fast. What I really want you guys to pick up is the valuation of it. Okay. I already have my template set up to default. Yours is already set. No, mine's not set on default. Yours is already set on default. Mine has already been personalized and tweaked just a little bit, but it's very similar to what you have on default right now. All right. So on here, very first thing, property type, it's residential, and strategic average field, I just leave this on approximate square footage. And then we go to next, title, comparable market analysis. For in here, I will type in my client's name. So in here, I might do Mr. and Mrs. Davis. Okay, as of, actually, this is I might be able to use this CMA. Like I said, it's an active property for a client that's looking right now. So this will be for Miss Bento as of today by Denise Franco from Realty One. So see how I had to move that over. All right, good. And here, just gonna keep getting in the way, huh? Let's put you over here. Okay. All right, now here on this, this tab is going to give us the subject property. It wants to auto-populate the subject property, or you can enter it manually. Again, these trainings we're always talking about efficiency and productivity. So if there's anything that you can automatically populate it, please do it. It'll save you just a little bit of time. So I'm going to click on auto-populate, and it's asking me for the listing number. So if you were with us when we started, I opened up the first tab to reflect my subject property so that I could reference it quickly and go and grab information. So this is what I mean. Right here, I'm just going to go ahead and grab the listing number, add that in there, submit. And see how it auto-populated not only the title, but it even automatically populated a cover page, and it automatically populated all of my information here, which is perfect. That just saved me a few minutes and I can move on to the next step. Of course, you want to verify the information. Just make sure that everything that came on is what it's supposed to be. Now on here, the next step is going to be, the MLS is basically asking, how do you want to search for this information? Okay, the way that I like to search is through a regular quick search. Okay, and I forgot to mention that every single time that I'm doing a CMA, I always have something to write with and to write on. Okay, this is super important. I feel like a lot of agents are missing this. You always need to have something to write on and to write with, especially when you're doing stuff like this. Trust me. Trust me, your brain goes through a different process when you put pen to paper, and it helps you, it helps you withhold the information more. So put pen to paper every once in a while. Just have a notepad in case you need it. All right, so now here it's pretty much asking me, what is it that you want to look for? So in this search, what makes a true comparable for a subject property? Does anybody know? What is it that I have to, what is my search criteria if I'm looking for comparable properties?
I would say first the square footage.
Square footage?
Yeah, exactly. Square footage, rooms, and garage.
Okay. Rooms and garage are definitely things to keep in mind. They're not going to be my initial criteria. My initial criteria is going to consist of square footage, year built, area. What area is it in? What neighborhood is it in? Is it within a 1 mile radius? And then the style of the home. After I get through all of that criteria, if I'm able to narrow it down more, Fedis, at that point, I definitely want to take into consideration, does it have a garage? How many bedrooms does it have? But until I get through those first few criteria, I don't want to put that in first, because that might take off more than I need it to. Okay. We are also looking for closed transactions. Remember, it's only a true comparable if it's actually been sold. Okay, so if you're working with a seller, you definitely need to see what's pending and you need to see what's active. You need to know what the market looks like as a whole. So it's more than just the CMA, but for the sake of just the valuation, we're only looking at closed sales. Now, another thing that I would keep in mind for this year is the market shifted a lot when COVID-19 hit El Paso. So when COVID-19 hit El Paso, it was around March timeframe, and it shifted the entire market. So typically in a typical CMA training or valuation training, you're going to be told to look at a year's worth of sold properties. Personally, at this point, I do not like to look as far back as 11/3/2019 because the market shift happened in March. I don't want to look that far unless I need to. So if I put in my initial criteria and I don't have enough comparables, then I'll extend it out to where it should be. But as of right now, I'm going to kind of assume and hope and pray that I have enough comparables, and I'm going to actually move this date to March 1st, 2020. And this is going to help me better analyze what's true in today's market. Again, the market is starting to shift a little again, but I would prefer just to look at what's been going on this year since COVID right now. All right, and then the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to check out my location. So I'm going to go to view map. You're always going to have that little pop-up, and then down here you're going to have this little thumbtack. With this little thumbtack, you can pin a location. And the location that I want to pin is the subject property. Oh man, there's a baby crying next door. I don't know if you guys can hear that. All right, so locate my subject property, use this location. So I'll typically start with 1 mile. You can also start with the subdivision of that property if you prefer to. And really, for me, what it comes down to is how many properties do I have available? So at this point, I'm looking at this and I have 233 results. It looks like it's going to be a lot, but I'm going to actually wait until I put in my square footage and my year built before I decide on whether I want to switch that to subdivision or if I want to leave it at a mile radius. If you only do the subdivision, that is going to be a truer value. However, what I find a lot of times is that if I start with the subdivision, I don't have enough comparable properties. So I like to start with a mile, see what I have, and then if I can shrink that radius down a little bit, then I'll definitely do that. So going back to that first tab again, what is our square footage? 2201. So I'm going to go right back. And under square footage, do you guys know how much, like what's the range of square feet that you should be using in comparison to your subject property?
I've used 300 to 500 in the past.
300 to 500, yes. So again, as far as like what we're taught in real estate school and what appraisers use, we can go 500 less or 500 over, but in reality, 500 square feet is a lot. So I always start with 300 just to keep it a truer comparable. Now, if I need to go out to 500 because I just don't have enough comparables, I can do that. So now I have leverage as far as if I just don't have enough. Remember here, I can always go back on the date because I have more time that I could actually use. And then here I could extend to 500 more and 500 after, but I'm actually going to start with 300. So what is this again? Oops. All right, so my search has dropped down to 107, which is a good amount. Last but not least, I want to see when this property was built. Year built, we have 2005. And how many years prior and how many years after can we go back? Anybody?
Plus or minus 3 to 5.
Yeah, we can do about 5. So on year built, we can go a little bit further. And on year built, if you absolutely need to, like there's some neighborhoods where there's just no sales and it's because of your year built. You can probably even get away with doing a little more, like 8 to 10. But yeah, 3 to 5 is a good range. Okay. And on my default, I've talked about the default settings. The MLS default settings, my cat's going crazy in the background. On the MLS default settings, you don't actually have the year built. So down here in this little bar where it says add a field to the search, you're just gonna click that and then you're gonna type in year built. It's actually gonna pop up. Drop that in there. And the year built on this was what, 2005, I think it was. Yep, 2005. So we will do the year 2000 to 2010. All right, now I'm down to 37 listings. It's still a pretty good amount. So I might actually, at this point, because there's so many, I might actually just go back and change the radius to the subdivision. So my subdivision is Lomas del Sol. And in here, that's my subdivision. I can just type that in. And now I have 16 results, and that's right here. So now I'm going to take you guys back to the subject property. And this is exactly how I do it. I really don't even look at pictures until I get to this step, because at this step is when I actually have to look at the comparable properties and start actually comparing them to see who looks how. Oh, I also forgot the style. So another thing that I'm taking into consideration is the style of the property. Let me go ahead and add that in. So the style of this property is a 2-story. This can be a make or break on your appraisal, guys. I have been through it. Apparently 2-story homes are cheaper to make than 1-story homes. I wouldn't have guessed that, but they are, and it changes the value of the property. So I always put in at least, whether it's a 1-story or a 2-story, again, depending on how many results I get, I might have to leave the style alone if I'm just in an area where there's not a lot of comparables. But in here, it's pretty clear that we have a good amount of comparables. We still have 11 results with this property. Now, at this point, one more thing that I'm going to take into consideration, and I'm going to see it when I go through here, is if it has anything like a pool. A pool is something that I definitely want to take into consideration, and I want to add to the comparable search. So we're back at the subject property, and I'm just going to go over the pictures with you guys. I'm going to go over, okay, it's taking a minute to load.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to understand why you would use a newer house to compare an old house.
Why I would use
2010 home, newer than a 2005. I understand an older home, but like I'm thinking compare a new car to an old car.
Because it's a home. Because I see your reference. A car and a home values are just totally different. Once you go in and actually start looking at the pictures, if you see a drastic change in the style of the home, so just like cars, homes also tend to change in like style.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to compare a car with the house. I'm trying to understand.
The car is not an investment.
No, I know, but I'm not trying to compare a car with the house. I'm trying to compare why would you use a 2010 model newer with a 2005 older home?
Well, you're still within range. At the end of the day, you're just still within range. This is the way that we want to be as similar to the appraisals valuation as possible. And there's certain criteria that they have to abide by. And so we want to try to abide by their same criteria. So they can use 5 years before and 5 years after, and we want to stick as close to that as possible. However, I will say that if I have a lot of comparables, like for example, if you're working the Far East Side, I'll only do comparables for that year, maybe a year less and a year over, because there's just so many sold homes that I don't need up to 5 years before and after. But for the sake of like what we can and can't do, you can go up to 5 more and 5 less. Now, once we start looking at the pictures, if you see that there's a drastic change in style, for example, this area is actually a really good area that where this subject property is, it's a good area to compare to. Like, you'll see certain homes be a certain style. They kind of look like the 90s style, and then it almost looks like there's like a new model, so to speak, like in car terms. Like, it almost looks like you can see which ones are the newer model homes. So you do want to stick more to comparing those style homes together. But can you compare it up to 5 years? Yes, you can. It's still within range.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on here. Let me refresh this, guys. I'm sorry about that. Okay. All right. So let's go into the photos. Please go through. Oh. I don't know what's going on.
I think it's not working properly because I was looking for some properties and the pictures didn't load.
Really? Man.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to do a CMA without pictures. All right, let me see if I can pull it up on my phone. Just to at least give you guys a reference point.
I think if you try a different browser, it might help.
A different browser? Okay. I will try that. Who was that, Fetus?
Sí, it was me.
Thank you. Oh, this is taking a minute to load. There it is. Okay. Let me close this out just in case it has something to do with how many tabs I have open. Oh, this kitty wants to get in on the training so bad. Go over there. All right, so here's our subject property. So from the exterior, I'm just gonna take mental notes of the property. Right off the bat, I'm looking at the landscaping. They have some nice Southwest landscaping. We have stucco exterior. I can see that we have a tile roof up here. I can also see that we have a balcony in the front and a 2-car garage. Now, most of these are details that I can see in the actual details. But I'm just, again, taking mental notes. So there's a couple of things that I'm looking for in the interior. I really want to get a good sense of, as good of a sense of the condition of the property as possible, and then like upgrades. So this is definitely not original flooring. This looks like it's probably possibly hardwood floor, probably, what's it called? I lost it. It's on the tip of my tongue. Ethel, help me. I know you know.
What?
A
About what?
floor.
Is tile or is wood?
No. Let me see.
It's laminate.
Laminate. Thank you.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of the word. So it's probably laminate. We do have tile here. I'm trying to see what the fixtures look like. Fixtures are usually a really good giveaway to see like how dated the home is. You really can't tell in this picture. So we'll move on. The house looks really neat and clean. I don't think that this is, I don't know that this is staging. It looks like it might be somebody's furniture. So, I mean, it looks really, really nice, clean, and organized. So as far as the condition of the property, I'm getting a really good sense of the condition. Obviously, I won't know for sure unless I walk into the property, but it does look like it's in pretty good condition, just considering what we're seeing so far. I see a little bit of carpet. Another thing that I'm noticing is it looks like there's nice fresh paint in the property. Again, these are certain things that I'm going to get in the description either way, but this is just kind of how my mind walks through it as I'm looking at it. Just taking some mental notes. I do see them that the cabinets in the back, in the kitchen, they're a little dated. And I'm sure I have another picture, a better picture of the kitchen. I hope I do.
I went to see that house, and the cabinets are not in a good condition.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I can tell just by the color that they're dated. This is going to be, you know, these are the cabinets that were put in like in the 90s. This home was built in 2005. So these are probably original cabinets. And then again, just mental notes. I could be wrong, but this looks like it's a Formica countertop. It doesn't look like it's granite just from the picture, but I'll go back into the details to confirm. What would you say the condition of this property was, Ethel?
It has things that were very nice and other things that were not nice. Like the kitchen is very little. And then the backyard, what I remember, it was not well maintained. But then the rest of the house it was fine.
Okay. All right, so my pictures aren't loading anymore, and I really just don't want to waste too much time on this. The fact that Ethel has been inside of it makes me feel a little better. So if we get stuck, Ethel, you can help us. Hey, I'm going to go look at the details now, though. Okay, you have to read through the listing. Okay, read through the listing to get a better idea of what's going on in the home. So now is when I actually want to look at how many bedrooms and bathrooms it has. So I still have 11 possible comparables on the list. I don't need 11, nor do I want 11. So if I have a bunch of them and the only thing that I can really narrow down is bedrooms, I can narrow it down to 3 bedrooms. Okay, I want to look at anything that stands out that's different about this property. I do want to check on cooling. That's another thing that I definitely want to add in there. It has refrigerated cooling. I want to say most homes built after 2005 have refrigerated cooling, but there are still some that don't. Landscaping, we've got automatic sprinklers and a bubble drip system. Okay, that's good to know. So falling in love with this home and this price is easy. Affordable West Side living with a home that has been well maintained and enjoyed by the owner who built it. Surrounded by larger, more expensive homes, this is a standout. Hardwood floors in the living room. Okay, so they're hardwood. And dining room through the family room with fireplace. Kitchen looks out to the green backyard. Extra large breakfast area was added. Okay, so we have an addition. Pantry and bar, laundry room downstairs, 2 guest bedrooms and one full bath down. Large master suite with shower and garden tub upstairs. Walk-in closet, walkout balcony, recently painted. So we caught the fresh paint in there. Refrigerated air. Had it in 2018. That's nice. That tells us that the refrigerated AC was put in 2 years ago, which is nice. We shouldn't have too much wear and tear on that. Roof resealed this month. Gorgeous backyard with tight oversized patio and flagstone for outside enjoyment and privacy, close to all new Cimarron shops and restaurants. Lots of parks in the area and walking through Lost Dog Trail. Okay, cool. I also want to take into consideration the days on the market. So if I'm working with a buyer, I definitely want to look at days on the market just to give me a better reference point as far as the desirability of the property, okay? So I know everything I need to know about the property. And I really want to like submerge myself in this property as much as possible, especially if I've never been in it. That's why looking at the pictures and getting a really good feel for what the floor plan looks like, all of that is really important, because now we're going to go into the list that we created. Okay, so we already created this list, and we want to start looking at these properties to see which ones are actual true comparables. But this list is still relatively long for me. I don't want to look through 11 properties if I don't have to. So there's a couple of things that I want to take into consideration. For example, some of these homes have 4 bedrooms. Okay, so that's something that I can take into consideration. I might want to eliminate the 4-bedroom homes if they're not the best comparables. I also have refrigerated AC. So if I edit my search to add the cooling, and we're going to type in that it has refrigerated AC, bedrooms. So that dropped us down to 10 listings, which is still more than what we need. 3 bedrooms drops us down to 4. This list should be the best list. Now, if as we're looking through it, we see a home that's just a completely different style home, we might want to reopen up our search. But if these homes are relatively similar to our home, then this is the list, because they're all within range of subdivision, square footage, year built, bedrooms. They all have refrigerated air. They're all 2-story. So I've kind of let the computer do the work for me. Every now and then you're going to have to dive a little bit deeper, but right now we have it all here for us. I do like to kind of just glance through the pictures to make sure there's nothing that stands out about these. Oh, you know what I forgot to check, and I was going to check on the pictures. I want to check if it has a pool. So since I can't get into all these pictures, let me just double check. Pool on property is no. That's another really important one to add. And let me make sure I do that now. Okay, and we still have the original 4, so that's good. All right, so like I said, I might just browse these pictures real quick. I might browse the information. For example, on the details about the subject property, I kind of want to make sure none of them are a foreclosure, because a foreclosure is going to be a different comparable than a regular resale. So I'm not going to go through the pictures right now, guys, because for whatever reason, it's just giving me a hard time and it's just going to waste too much time. But go through your pictures and make sure that the style of the home is similar. If, let's say we get to the pictures and you can tell that one of these homes is just super outdated, and it just, it doesn't go, then you can open up your search just a little bit. Maybe you can add in one of the last things that we took out, like the refrigerated air, and you can always make an adjustment to your values at the end. I'll show you how to do that. But let's assume that all of these are good, and let's assume that none of them are foreclosures. I'm going to go ahead and select all of them. So if you click this top box, you can actually select all of these. I'm so sorry, you guys. I just had I think there's something going on next door that I need to make somebody aware of, you guys. I'm going to have to pause this really quick. I'm so sorry. Give me a second.